is yours.
All right, so hello to everyone at Enter. Thank you for joining this session. And I will present the work that me and my colleagues from Salzburg University of Applied Sciences carried out last year. So as you can see, the topic is the implicit and explicit motivations of tourist behavior in sharing travel photographs on Instagram. Let's start with a little bit of context. So long before Instagram and social media, tourists sought ways to preserve and share their travel experiences with friends and family. Especially during the last years, Instagram has emerged as a platform where mostly young and tech-savvy tourists share their travel experiences and connect with other users during multiple travel stages. Therefore, social media has transformed tourist behavior and led to the point where tourism-related content is among the favorite interests of Instagram users. However, the existing research often addresses Instagram for the perspectives of destination branding and marketing. Hence, the antecedents of sharing travel photographs remain unclear. Therefore, this research tried to answer the question, what are the motivations of tourists posting on Instagram while traveling? Previous research suggests that various implicit and explicit motives can impact online tourist behavior and social media usage. However, the research focusing on Instagram as the most popular site of travel posts remains unclear. The objectives of this research therefore were, firstly, to develop a conceptual framework for the motivations of tech-savvy tourists to post on Instagram while traveling, and secondly, to categorize these tourists into different segments according to their characteristics. Understanding the motivations of young tech-savvy generation to post on Instagram is valuable as it provides insights into travelers' social, cultural, and environmental characteristics, hence offering managers various insights and suggestions on how to improve their marketing and management strategies. In short, motivation refers to one's enthusiasm of doing something. We looked at the related literature in three contexts. Firstly, in motivational theories in general. Here, literature suggests that there are intrinsic triggers within every individual, such as enjoyment, emotional connection, self-expression, and self-identification. The latter of these motivations can be driven by extrinsic triggers, such as rewards, incentives, and personal goals. In a similar sense, scholars often address individual versus community-related motives. Secondly, Instagram-related literature suggests coolness, creativity, enjoyment, and self-documentation among the main user motives to use the platform. Lastly, tourism-related literature suggests that tourist motives for sharing travel photographs in general are related to gaining social status, prestige, recognition, and social return. So we can see that while fundamental motives have been researched, it appears that there is no general agreement among researchers why specifically young tourists would post on Instagram while traveling. As a result, we saw the need to develop a holistic framework to better understand the characteristics of these tourists. So our research adapted a diary study. After that, we developed a conceptual model. We carried out a survey, which was followed by a path analysis and a cluster analysis. Our sample was a technology-savvy audience aged between 18 and 34. In other words, the sample was a group of contemporary users of technology, so-called digital natives. So through a convenient sample, we collected data from 10 diary participants and 376 survey participants. So let's look into the mentioned methodology step by step. So firstly, diary study was chosen as it's often used in academia as the basis for developing survey instruments. Additionally, this method has been recognized as well suited for not widely discovered topics, as in our case, the motivations to post on Instagram while traveling. So the participants were chosen based on their activity on Instagram, such as the frequency of posting. Significantly, one of the requirements was that they had to have at least 1 week travel experience within a specific time period. So while traveling, the participants were asked to fill out this diary form that you can see whenever they posted on Instagram. And the form consisted of the following entries, such as date, activity, location, type of image, for example, landscape or a portrait, the feelings of the participant, outcome expectation of likes or comments, and personal reflection. So after we collected our data from diary study, we continued with the development of our conceptual model. So importantly, this study did not rely on existing scales. So the model and measurement scale was developed based on the previous literature and refined based on the diary study's outcomes. As per literature, initially 10 motivational categories were used for the model, and after collecting diary data, the content was manually read and coded by the authors based on these motivational categories. Interestingly, diary study identified memorabilia as an additional motivation trigger, which was rarely mentioned in the literature before. As a result, the model was refined by adding memorabilia to the list of motivational triggers. And at the end, 11 motivational categories, which you can see here, were used for the final model and survey development. So these categories are enjoyment, self-esteem, social ties, recognition, interests, social norms, goals, status and prestige, self-efficacy, and outcome expectations. So at the end, we developed a questionnaire consisting of 47 items, measuring these 11 motivational categories in 6 points Likert scale, where 1 was strongly disagree and 6 strongly agree. As we can see here, the Cronbach alpha values, the scale is reliable and has internal consistency, therefore the validity was proven. So let us move on to the results section. Firstly, some of the demographics of our sample. So more than 66% of our participants were between 18 and 24 years old, and around 67% of these people use Instagram for more than 3 years, which means that they are contemporary and advanced users of this platform. So, and more than 77% of these users consider Instagram as an important or somewhat important element of their travel process. While looking at the moment of posting, more than half of the travelers post at the end of the day, 1/4 of the travelers post at the end of the whole trip, and only 12% of the travelers posted directly after taking the photo. After the first look into our data, interest, memorabilia, and self-efficacy were among the most important motives to post on Instagram while traveling. Hence, tourist motivations can have various influences. Therefore, we used path analysis to determine the correlations between the motivation factors and actual motivation to post on Instagram while traveling. The model was tested with a covariance matrix and a maximum likelihood estimation, where we looked at how latent variable motivation to post on Instagram while traveling can be explained by the 11 motivational groups. The model indicated that all variables except memorabilia have a significant influence on the motivation to post on Instagram while traveling. We also concluded that variable interest precedes the variables enjoyment, social ties, and memorabilia, as it not only indicated a better model fit, but also can be related with individuals' personality and posting behavior. So lastly, we performed a hierarchical cluster analysis to group tourists into homogeneous groups according to their Instagram usage behavior and motivations. So validation was conducted through Copernicus correlation, where average linkage method outperformed the single, complete, and words linkage. Based on the average linkage method, the silhouette scores presented a 4-cluster solution that we also evidenced by the Kalinski-Haraplus index that you can see here. And lastly, with ANOVA, we found significant differences between all clusters that allowed us to establish 4 different tourist segments that I will explain in shortly. So here we can see each cluster's mean values of the motivational categories and Instagram usage behavior. We can see that also cluster analysis indicates that interest, memorabilia, and self-efficacy are the most common motivations to post on Instagram while traveling for all travelers, as these variables had the highest mean scores for all of the clusters. So lastly, I will shortly describe you our established tourist segments based on their motivations and posting behavior on Instagram. So firstly, we have the largest cluster, the charming adventurer, which posts photos for individual enjoyment and memorabilia. Individual motives like self-esteem and goals are more important than community-related triggers such as prestige and recognition. Charming adventurer uses Instagram daily and frequently posts on Instagram while traveling. The silent cluster, relatively smaller, scores moderately high on community-related aspects such as social ties, prestige, self-esteem, and recognition. Instagram is very important to them, even though they do not post often. However, silent spectators tend to become more actively involved and post more frequently during trip, expecting certain outcomes such as likes and comments from other users. The third cluster, the photo collectors, are the most passive Instagram users who post the least and consider Instagram not that important while traveling. Their primary motivation to post is memorabilia, which means that they post for themselves and Instagram serves as their personal photo albums. This group has the lowest scores for all motivational categories in comparison to all other clusters. Lastly, the immersed creators represent the smallest cluster with the highest mean scores in all categories. They are the most active Instagram users and frequently post while traveling. Memorabilia, interest, and enjoyment are their main motivational drivers. They create and share images not only for themselves, but also for the community. So in conclusion, with this research, we attempted to bridge Instagram to tourism and explore young and tech-savvy tourists' internal and external motives to post on Instagram. We contribute to the existing body of literature related to customer behavior in digital settings. We also extended the existing knowledge on the motivation and posting behavior. We affirmed that enjoyment, self-esteem, social ties, recognition, interest, social norms, goals, status, self-efficacy, and outcome expectations are related with users' motivation to post on Instagram. We could also see how strong the relationships are. Moreover, we presented the motivational framework and classified tourists into 4 distinct segments. Hence, these results can be used not only further in academic context, but also as a managerial implication. Thus, tourist marketers and destinations can use these insights to evaluate and improve their marketing strategies' effectiveness based on tourists' internal and external motives of using Instagram. Additionally, this study revealed that memorabilia, as a way to create personal collection of memories with Instagram posts, works as a trigger for tourists to post on Instagram. Lastly, this study looked further than just the analysis of motives of young travelers, but uses digital natives as a sample group and therefore allows to understand motivations of this young and tech-savvy group of travelers. So I will close with some suggestions for future research. Firstly, due to convenient sampling